Hello, everybody. This is Rob. It's been on my channel before.
Hello.
And I'll link the video that we made before in the description. But essentially, I thought, or like we both thought, that he was my type twin initially. So I'm a double masculine, NE, TI, consume, play, sleep, last. However, your type is a little bit different.
A little bit.
Just a little bit. So what's your type?
A phone call with Shannon, and the first thing we were talking about was that I have DE, which was slightly a surprise to me and many people who were trying to type me, but that I consider the opinions of others first before really like allowing myself to assert my opinion. But the full type she gave me in the end was double feminine, FE, SE, play, consume, sleep, blast. She seemed to be a little unsure about sleep versus blast, and I've emailed her to ask about that. But I mean, I've always kind of identified with sleep versus or blast last, but here I am blasting right now. So
I mean,
you be the judge.
So, but yeah, okay. All right, so I don't. Okay, FE.
Did I get it right?
Yeah, I think you got it right. Okay, what are your thoughts on having feminine FE? Like, do you see that in yourself as savior? Savior first FE. So.
Well, so we kind of talked about dynamics that I've seen in myself for sure, but sort of reframing it in terms of savior is so that wasn't a total shock to me because I do feel like I have that awareness of what other people value. It just always seemed like it was something that was kind of in the way of doing what I want, which I guess like when you say that out loud, it kind of does just sound like a savior blocking me from using my demon, you know. I don't know, but it's just like that reframing of it that really sort of like made me understand like, okay, that's how that works in the system. So that wasn't a total surprise to me. But good. Yeah, it seems to have been a bit of a surprise for you. So
yeah, I don't know. Because I don't know, you're not, it's at least from what I know of you, you're not the idea of like, do you care about people more or things more? That's what I was going with. And it didn't seem to me like you cared. Not that you didn't care, but it just wasn't like an EJ level of caring.
Yeah, and we could talk about like the single activated versus double activated stuff and like how that plays into things. Certainly, if in fact I am blast last, I would have that single activated and not sort of the typical EJ blast mentality that would sort of make me like more obvious in a lineup that I'm a EJ, I guess. So especially coming like from that Myers-Briggs mindset, because that's another thing that she kind of talked about with me in terms of like no one's gonna like think of you as an EJ because just like that glass lizard effect doesn't look like that, right? So
glass lizard is essentially that your
right.
Your demons are masculine, correct?
No, so the glass lizard thing is having a double activated last function. Mm-hmm. So that's the double activated TI sort of playing off that single activated FE, especially having mine be masculine TI. It's doesn't necessarily seem like I'm like pushing with FE at all. It's just, but I'm just sort of aware of it. So, or at least that's how I'm kind of seeing it and framing it in my mind now that they've given me their insights.
And what do you think about having Savior SE?
So SE, I did walk back one of my videos and I was seeing like more sensory talk, but that's been tough for me just in general with like people from the class and stuff. I feel like I'm always seeing sensory with people. It doesn't seem like anyone's being like abusing analogies like Robert Downey Jr. kind of thing in their videos, you know? So it's hard for me to really say like, oh, I'm definitely sensory versus intuitive. But I was kind of actually planning to ask, like, I'm not really seeing a ton of intuitive stuff in my video. Like, what are you seeing that makes me any? But then she didn't say that, so kind of confirmed that like it's like 3 plus OE, and the OE seemed like more clear to me. But intuitive, maybe not so much looking back. I just kind of always related to any as a function in terms of, I don't know, I guess just like anecdotal stuff. So maybe that's not a good thing to go off of. And I'm trying to do that a little bit more with the coins and stuff when actually trying to type people and stop looking for functions because it just will throw off. But yeah, so I don't know.
Right.
Yeah.
Something that I wanted to ask you was that, oh my God, I completely forgot. What is it?
We're talking about SV and NE.
No, it was different. But yeah, it was that, so you had a problem with the way that Dave and Shan were typing people because you were like, this is not what this means. And like, what do you think that was? Because to me, it seemed Savior TI. So just to explain to the people watching, is that you, or I think maybe you should explain it because it was your.
Right. I mean, I know what you're talking about. Well, not precisely, I guess, but I definitely had some conflict originally coming into the system in terms of like this thing isn't making sense to me, I guess, you know, like TI kind of stuff. And I wasn't necessarily convinced that jumpers were necessarily real exactly. It's like, I don't really get it. Like it kind of makes sense at first, like, sure, that could exist, but then I don't know, the way the animals were playing out, I wasn't really like seeing play. Like even in myself, it's like I don't feel like I'm play all the time kind of thing. So I don't really know where I'm going with this, but yeah, I was definitely having like a convince me sort of thing. And I don't know, at least I guess that was more of a demon state kind of thing. Like I'm not getting this, so it must be wrong. Maybe that's more of like the demon TI playing out there. I don't know. Like, how do you relate to that as a savior TI?
I don't know if it's Savior TE, Savior TI, but well, so the way that I was looking at it was it, and I think maybe this goes to like what is true in the sense, because that's how Dave and Shan describe what TI is. So I always looked at their system and I was like, okay, what they're seeing doesn't have to be equal to the descriptions that they're giving necessarily, because A, they haven't given any proper descriptions or definitions for anything. So it's not like you can say that you're either right or wrong. But it's just if people are seeing things, but they have like an intuitive understanding of the thing, and everybody's like, yeah, okay, this is what the concept is. We can call this X, Y, and Z. But if like a bunch of people see that pattern happening and they're like, okay, this is X, Y, and Z, then it must actually exist. Right? Like that was my way of thinking about it. But I think you were focusing more on the actual, what is this X, Y, and Z? Or like, this is not what TI is supposed to be, or like this doesn't
right.
make sense.
Yeah.
But that's where I got it confused. That's where I'm confused, because it's not like you don't have that. It's not like you don't have your own opinions. You have your own opinions, but like in a a different way.
Yeah, and that's certainly me coming into this system with my preconceived bias of like what TI means outside of the system, and whether that's a mistake of the system to call it TI when like that's been used elsewhere. I know there's like some marketing reasons behind that stuff. Like Socionics does that too, even though they're kind of trying to like stay away from that community. They still use some of the same terms. So they have that same issue where people come in and they go like, well, in MBTI they say this. It's like, well, that's a different system. So it's like me, I'm doing NI. I'm like it's the same thing over here.
Right.
But yeah, so it was definitely me like saying like there is one true definition of TI and like trying to come to that rather than saying like the system is here and the system is over here and they have separate definitions of TI, because I was just trying to learn more about like what I understood this typology thing to mean with the insights that these people had gathered, these people being David Shannon. Particularly, I was looking at first with the feminine or the modalities and the animals, because it's like just a new thing, right? That's kind of thrown on top of this. So I was like, does the jumpers really fit into that? I don't really know. So it was kind of like they were asking me to update my internal model rather than me trying to update their model or like learn their model, I guess. So yeah, I don't know. Is that, I don't know. I see that as TI. I don't know if it necessarily means it's masculine or a savior or demon, right?
I think that makes sense though, because
So
you have masculine TI.
yeah,
So it's more difficult for you to probably move on what you've already like thought of to be true.
yeah, and I haven't thought about it enough to like know if NI would play a part in that in terms of like me thinking like there is this thing and we're just trying to describe it. Like there's this single thing that is like Jungian type, essentially, like cognitive function based type. And we're just trying to figure out how the pieces can best describe that in reality. So, yeah, but yeah, the savior versus demon thing in terms of that, I'm not sure. Yeah, definitely was like trying to get them be like, I don't know if this aligns with my model. I don't know if I'm going to stick around with this or not. But so I'm not sure if the FE is really playing a much of a role in that case, because I'm kind of detached from them as people and like they don't really care what I think at that point. I'm not sure. Kind of like processing this out loud here. I don't know.
Well, yeah, but on the website you did try to start your own typing thing, right?
The interviews?
Yeah, the interviews.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it would be interesting if we could start to get like community consensus towards types. It's certainly difficult to do that. And I don't know, it's kind of almost just an addition to the class at this point, in terms of just like getting people that are about to be typed, get an opportunity to try with like a real person rather than some random celebrity type person. So
Yeah.
I don't know. It's also just opportunity for me to kind of communicate with people more directly. Not necessarily something I've been doing a whole lot of, especially just like on the internet before January, I guess. Started connecting with people on the Facebook group and the Discord. So
So what? Wait. So what was your because how you communicate is definitely very play, like that. No surprise. It's like, okay, but like, how did that manifest in real life? Like before you were talking to all of these people on Facebook and stuff,
How did what manifest?
like your play, because
Well, oh man, try to think back before that. There's definitely like an aspect of play to me that's not necessarily just like communicating with people. It's kind of just like going out and gathering, I guess, people's differing opinions. I was kind of trying to triangulate and understand how the sort of like the true typology based on like, okay, this person's seeing it this way, this person's seeing it this way. Truth is somewhere in the middle, I think. I don't know if that's like an I or what playing in there, but just kind of like trying to triangulate opinions in that way is sort of something I see myself doing for sure.
right.
Yeah, not necessarily going like, let me figure this out, get out a piece of paper and just like start figuring it out. It's more just like going outside of myself and seeing what other people are saying, and then kind of doing the consume type work where I'm like, does this make sense to me? Or does this person, what this person's saying, is it full of holes kind of thing? I don't know if that's kind of how you see consume, but just sort of pulling in the information and then just trying to see if it actually makes sense to me. And then that's kind of what stays. So yeah, a lot of gathering, and then a lot of just like kind of bouncing it around in my head, thinking about whether that actually sticks or not. So
That's interesting, because the way that I look at, I don't know if it's play or consume, what it is, but I'll go get, it's almost like I justify the tribe with my TI instead of having the tribe justify what I'm doing. So it's like, oh, like a system works this way. Instead of trying to change the system, I'm going to be like, okay, the system was created because this, which is not what you're doing, right?
yeah, I don't know. I think to some extent, but maybe not going into the system quite as deeply. Yeah, I kind of like, it's almost like I see that a system exists, and then I'm looking at what people think about that system to even like decide whether I want to, if I'm gonna like be able to get value out of it. So say there's like a Reddit post, and instead of going to the Reddit post directly, I just like go to the comments and see if like people are like saying this is bullshit or not before actually reading it. And then, like if enough people are like, oh, this is a really good article, it's like, okay, maybe I will actually take the time to read it. So kind of surveying almost before investing the time. So it's like outsourcing it a little bit. I don't know if that's what do you think of that?
Yeah, I do the opposite. I never read the comments. I'll just read the post. Okay.
I love reading comments.
There's so many opinions, though. You like, I don't know. Like,
yeah, with Reddit, it's nice, like because a lot of just like the bull crap just kind of like falls to the bottom, so, because of like the upvote system. And I don't know, you could certainly like have a discussion about the merits and stuff to that, but in general, I find it helpful to sort of get a general consensus of what people are thinking about things, like what comments people are finding valuable, I guess. I feel like I'm just like talking about FE right now.
that's actually really interesting, because I've been so politically incorrect in so many like in so many posts or stuff that I'll just see it and I'll be like, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Like I can see that happening. And then I'll go, and then I'll like see the comments. I was like, oh shit, like I was so wrong. I shouldn't do that. And then I will like choose the tribe's opinion over mine. But like, I don't know. I guess my tribe in that sense is pretty movable.
Yeah, it's like you don't really care what they think until you've formed your opinion. It's kind of is that?
Well, I don't know. I feel like I'm just doing more work. So like the first thing that I read, I'll be like, yeah, that makes sense. And then I'll go down and then I'll see other people's opinions. I'm like, oh shit, that also makes sense. And then I'll decide which one's, I guess, better. But
Okay.
like, yeah.
Yeah, I definitely feel like I look at opinions a lot. That's been something that I don't know. I feel like I almost feel responsible to kind of see what other people are saying before I say anything, and that keeps me from talking a lot of the time. Yeah, it's like I'm obligated to that. I don't know. It's like a play consume, where I'm just like listening to the other opinions of people before voicing mine to even like see if it's needed. So
Yeah, I think that's where like the consumer play would come in because because I'm just comparing, but like it's like I'll say my opinion and then see the person's reaction to it and then be like, okay, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or yeah,
yeah,
maybe it's just like demon happy. I don't know.
yeah, and I don't know. I'm definitely like considering what people are going to think before I say something, like weighing up whether it's worth it or not to push someone's buttons. I mean, I definitely do it, and that's where like I don't know. Some people are saying like he's not afraid to say what he has on his mind, but sometimes I don't. I don't know. So.
I mean, I guess then that depends on what's important for you and what's not.
Yeah. Yeah, and a lot of time I'll just like ping back and forth in my head, like, is this really worth saying? And then like the moment will pass, and then like I just don't end up saying anything, because I'm like too busy thinking about whether I should say it or not. So.
Right. But that's also like a very blast thing.
I guess.
It's like not ready to come out with information.
Yeah, I was thinking it was even more of a problem for me because I'm like trying to even more respect what others are saying, kind of thing. So I guess I'm just like even more weird about it. It's what I'm thinking. So, but maybe I'm exacerbating the problem to get pity.
Maybe. I mean, you could be biased after hearing your type, but
yeah, sure. Yeah, I was thinking about that earlier too. Like if they had told me I was the same type, I'd be like, yeah, that makes sense. But I'm not like totally shocked, but it's kind of weird.
I'm kind of surprised at your reaction, just because I was expecting it to be a little bit more aggressive. Not aggressive, but like just like I thought you'd fight it a little bit more. At least, I mean, from what we discussed. But
I mean, like they totally flipped anything on me. And like the biggest thing for me was like the any, but I guess I just had been kind of thinking I was that for so long. And yeah, in this system, it just doesn't seem like that's what I'm doing other definitions. So yeah, I don't know, I definitely considered Savior FE before. I had just kind of gotten into the frame where I was thinking of it as a demon. So, but I was trying to like go into it with a very open mind in terms of like they not the things that I was seeing necessarily. There were certain things I was still questioning for sure. So,
right. But do you see the SE like, you know, I guess from a more theoretical point of view, like according to how they describe SE, you're just like collecting information and instead of talking about concepts, because I didn't really think about it before, but now that I think about it, we haven't actually had very conceptual conversations.
yeah. And I think when people talk about super conceptual things, sometimes it kind of annoys me. So, like looking back a little bit. So yeah, in terms of like gathering sensory data, it's like, I don't know, like actually like looking for the function itself. It's like, I don't know, I guess kind of relate to some things. I need to watch some more classes with like feminine SE people. Like they had the Eddie Hall one recently with the masculine SE, and they're like that I was reading too, but it's also in the middle, not the leading function, so it's a little bit different. But yeah.
But okay, what is your, I guess, your process of doing things? I don't know. Okay, so because I'm in college, all I can talk about right now is, I guess, like studies a little bit. So when I study, I'll study a concept. Okay, actually, I have a really good example. So I was studying learning, which is like a part of psychology, and from there I realized that. Oh my god, fine, whatever. I was learning about learning, and then from there I got distracted, and I was like, wow, the way you learn is actually like in some ways like Blast. And then I started writing down about Blast because I was like, oh, I could like film a video about Blast. And then I started gathering information about Blast. So I watched David Chan's video again. And then I'm like, okay, what is Blast conceptually? What kind of traits would be associated with Blast? And then I went to like search for research papers. So I feel like that's a very any way of thinking, where you're just like one concept leads to another. But I would resonate with that a little bit, or
so we're still learning about learning because you were learning about Blast, what you associated with learning.
Well, I was actually learning about how I should be writing my answers, because I usually know the concepts, but the way that I express them is not very good. So that's like my basic problem with studies. And like my TAs are like we understand that you understand it, but you don't explain it. So while I was learning about learning, I was writing down in proper sentences, and then writing down in proper sentences was like, wow, maybe this is how I should write in my tests. And then when I was thinking of how I should write in my tests, I was like, wow, wait, so I should be blasting, because blasting is like not the art, but like it's the function of communicating a little bit more effectively. And it's not about the ideas, it's about how you communicate those ideas. And then I went to that part of it, and I was like, okay, so then I looked more about what Blast in itself is. And then I realized that Blast is like, although they give examples like not being able to start or not communicating effectively, what they really meant was that it's about reluctance and how. So I was wondering if reluctance is a trait that exists in people. So then I started looking that up, and then like there was like stuff about self-esteem and stuff, but I don't think it's particularly connected. But anyway,
Sure.
bottom line, that was my way of thinking when I was going through all of this. So I guess like when you're doing something that's process based, how is it? Because I think I was moving from concept to concept instead of just elongating or like elaborating on one concept in itself.
Mm-hmm. Trying to think if I have like a similar example to give you. I don't really have anything where I like went on a huge tangent like that recently. But I guess not going to try and like just compare it directly. Like I've been, I don't know. I'm not sure how to explain like what I'm doing in terms of my functions, but like at work, I have like a bunch of different things I need to be working on that all kind of fall into different buckets.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'll kind of want to focus on one of those buckets at a time. And when I have to like switch between them, I do find that kind of difficult. And maybe that's like something where NE would be a little bit better in terms of just kind of like seeing how they sort of all connect. Whereas I'm just kind of seeing how they're different and wanting to sort of attack the problem in each of those spaces. So maybe that's useful, but it's also like, okay, like these problems are very distinct in that it's like this is on one application server, this is on another application server, and I need to do like programming for each. There's like requirements for each. So I don't know if you were approaching that, how you would do that differently. So yeah, I find it difficult to kind of compare to what you said. Like I've been, when I'm learning about typology and stuff, I'll go to do like an article like I did following some of the classes in the past. Like I did one on Michael Dixon, and I wanted to sort of expand on what they were talking about there with like what makes a type funny or a personality type funny, like what traits they see are funny. And then I was kind of looking at the other people that sort of fit in the past. I was like, oh, how does this relate back? And then I was looking at the Bo Burnham class, and I was like, oh, wait, that's right. I wasn't sure if he was FI or not. I kind of want to look at that some more. And then I just like started like researching him specifically more. And I kind of went like deep on that. So I don't know, it might be just like this switch where I'm like, I'm connecting these different data points and then kind of going deeper on each of them as a concept and sort of trying to pull in more and more data to really like better understand that concept. I don't know. I was kind of thinking about it as in terms of like a branch. So I have like this big branch that is typology. And then like objective personality is like a big branch off of that one. And then there's like a single class or something, or maybe like classes, and then each class kind of branches off of that. I don't know. So I was thinking of that's kind of stuff was like NE before, whereas like the spider web kind of connecting everything. But I think I heard Shannon recently somewhere say that it's kind of like drawers, like masculine intuition is like drawers where you're putting things. If you don't have like a drawer for the data that you're acquiring, it's going to just like disappear. So I think I'm actually very good at remembering like other people's types because I just like understand where that fits in my mind. It's like, oh, I know this person and I know their type, and there it's in that drawer. Like I know where that information is. So I'm able to like pretty quickly like remember that stuff. Like Bo Burnham is MMFINE, consume, play, blast, sleep, kind of thing. So, oh, thank you. Yeah, it's my party trick that everyone loves.
I mean, I couldn't see someone not.
Yeah, definitely. But,
Wait, okay,
so I don't know if I answered your question. That classic. Just I'm trying to give you something.
no, wait, I did have a question. So
that's such like a play thing to do, by the way. It's like low blast play, just like here's a bunch of information. I hope it answers your question.
I love it. As a DI, I get to choose what I want to from that. But
okay, good.
no, I did want to ask. So after learning about, I guess MBTI, do you normally see it everywhere? Like it's almost like I have a lens through which I perceive people, and it doesn't even have to be people, like just situations. I was like, wow, I'm so profound. Everything connects. But
I mean, I've never like tried to look at things through that lens before, but I've never felt like confident enough that I was like able to spot people's types to really apply it to anything. It's kind of like, oh, this person kind of seems like they're acting like this thing, but then I'm like, oh, maybe I'm kind of seeing that wrong, and I don't, I don't want to place too much weight on it. So it's more like a fun thing. I like never use it for anything beneficial, which kind of sucks. I wish I could, but have that confidence to do that. But yeah, that's definitely not something I've ever felt comfortable doing.
so do you have like I guess, a schema through which you do things? I mean, like you wouldn't know your own schemas, but like, like, is there something that you see and you just like relate to something else? Like, I don't like anything that I learned. I just like go outside and I was like, wow, that bird is acting like this thing that I thought of, and like it all makes sense. Like, do you have that? Because I feel like what any feminine any especially is.
I don't know. I can't like think of anything specific right now, but I don't know. I mean, I definitely like make connections, but it's yeah. I thought it was any for a while, but I guess not. I don't know.
I mean,
At least not in OPS terms.
yeah. Did okay,
Sorry, we lagged a little bit, I think.
sorry?
I think we lagged a little bit.
Oh yeah. I don't want to ask. So Shannon, did she say that, I guess, according to the normal MBTI type, what your type would be?
No.
Okay. What do you think it would be? Hey guys, I'm gonna entertain you for a bit. So.
Sorry.
Oh wait. So recently I've gotten into drawing. It's been pretty fun.
Sorry.
Yeah. Yeah. What do you think you look at yourself as?
It's flagging now. Oh, what I see myself as? I don't know. The first time I did 16 personalities, I got INFP. So, recently I got ISTP. And that is kind of close to what I have. Sorry. Yeah, it's lagging a bunch now. I don't know why. I haven't moved.
But yeah, no, you're there. there. Okay.
Right.
What's your
This isn't helping.
I mean, I can see clearly, and I can hear you
Right.
clearly.
Oh, okay, you're kind of lagging now. Maybe it's you.
Maybe I can't really change my position. It's not going to do much.
Okay.
But yeah, so you thought you were, or like you got ISTP, right?
Well, that's what I got on 16 personalities the last time I took it. But, and like, if I just had like consume and play flipped, I guess T and F and D I and T. Okay, I guess it's not that close.
Well,
It's kind of similar when you look at the animals, if you don't look that closely at the animals.
yeah, I guess.
Sure.
Was that SE? I don't know. so I was just going to try and look at it. Or NI.
Yeah, I don't know. It's like if you look at the data with a fuzzy lens.
I don't know. I still don't know how I feel about your type. I don't really agree, but
I know, that's why we were talking about it.
yeah. Anyway, do you have anything to add about your type?
I don't know, one of the things I was still kind of struggling with it was that I do feel like I like kind of go into my head a lot, even when I'm like in a group of people. And I don't know what that's about. I guess maybe like double masculine sleep or something, but it does feel like I'm not necessarily like as engaged as I would have thought a double activated SE person would be. So in like the present moment, but maybe that's just like a dumb anecdote. So maybe that's not something to think about. I don't know.
Yeah, and well, wasn't Benjamin like? I remember once talking to him and I was like, what does masculine SE look like?" He's like, "When things are falling, I just catch them." And I'm not really sure what that's supposed to mean, but yeah, I'm guessing that's not something that happens.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe I'm more aware than I even realize, but I don't know. It is. I certainly can't put myself in the mind of someone else and compare exactly. So, and socionics has this like concept of force associated with SE that like I don't relate to at all. Which like I got typed with SE vulnerable in that system, so it makes it kind of like interesting to think about. It like definitely seems like more like masculine SE in OP terms. But it's kind of like how much, as far as I understand it, I'm definitely not like a socionics expert, but it's like how much force is required in any type of situation. So it seems like a good control of blast sort of mixed with like masculine sensory to me. But, and those are two things I don't really relate to too much and shows in my type, right? But so, yeah. I forgot what I was saying. I guess I was just talking about SE and
Yeah.
how I don't necessarily feel like I'm in the present moment. So as much as I could be, but yeah, maybe that is me like trying to just sort of figure things out sometimes. So I'm like going into that mode and then coming out of it. So I'm either like in that like very introverted mode or I'm not.
Mhm.
And those are my introverted functions, so maybe I identify with those more and think of that as me. So I was thinking of myself as an NT, but I don't know.
You know, something I just realized right now is that you definitely have the feminine SE, like looking around a lot, like not paying attention to one thing, maybe.
Mhm.
Like just me with any but you with it.
I've heard about like NI like doing that like darting eyes thing when they're thinking and stuff. Um, I don't know if I do that. I've been like thinking about that a lot recently. It's
And
such like a stupid thing to think about, but I'm just thinking.
no, but that, I mean, that doesn't, no, I don't think that's how it works. Like,
Yeah, probably not. But I mean, I've seen like all types of people doing it. I'm just kind of like, I was just like randomly paying more attention to that in, like the last week or something. So
I mean, the science behind it is just like when you're remembering a memory, I think your eyes go to the right, and then when you're creating something, they go to the left, or something like that. I don't think it's a type thing.
wait, which way do I need to go to create stuff?
I don't know. I don't remember.
Does it change if you're left-handed?
I don't know.
Come on, tell me. I need the information. I'm banging on the tribe.
I'm sorry. I'm DI. I'm hiding.
Um,
Yeah, that was very interesting. Well, I think we will leave it at that for now.
okay.
Yeah. Bye, guys. I hope you typed him differently.
Bye.